As a kid, I always wanted to be a physician, join the Peace Corps, and it made me think about how we can use our skills as a physician to help other people around the world with limited resources and partner with them.
As physicians, it's very rewarding what we do every day, but it's a whole different level of reward when you go out into the field and you're helping people that otherwise couldn't get care.
This opportunity lets doctors feel like they are really part of a greater corporate community. They're becoming our ground troops that are going out to the places where the need is, the most desperate. I mean, I'm at a company now where the HR staff has told me that they've had a few, premature heart attacks in the last month. These are employees that probably would have been saved if they were seen for preventive screening and seen by a doctor.
As physicians, we have these incredible skills that we've been blessed to learn. And to be able to use them, I can't think of a better place to be able to use my skills as a surgeon than to take care of soldiers either in combat or preparing for combat or been injured in combat.
There's nothing, absolutely nothing that we do that can't be done better. It's just a matter of thinking, how can we take things in a direction that works out better for the patients.
When you're a professional physician and you're taking care of patients, individual patients, every day at some point in the day you think to yourself, why on earth are we doing this? Or why on earth is this set up this way? Or what idiot, thought this was a good idea? After a while I begin to realize that you're the potential instrument of change, and that if you're not part of the solution, you're actually part of the problem. I somehow knew I wanted to be a doctor when I was 5 years old. And I have a nursery school diploma which states I want to be a doctor. And I don't imagine I really knew what a doctor did, except it took care of people who needed to have their health managed. But as you go through your residency, you think about what specialty you want to go through. You deal with questions about what makes me tick, what turns me on, what excites me. And for me, I thought about not only that, but what is going to keep me engaged over the rest of my career. And then as I went into oncology and began taking care of patients, I began to realize some of the systemic problems that we have and the need to try to change the system so that things can be better, that can't be handled on an individual basis, but require you to step back a bit and take a broader view. And that's led me to some of the national activities that I do now. So I've been working with ASCO for about 10 years. I initially started working with our state affiliate, ANCO. And through that, I kind of rose through the rank of the clinical practice committee and was identified and have served on numerous committees before being elected to the board of directors, and then was nominated to run for president, which I did last year and was elected for the year starting 2014. The challenge and the allure of this position is the opportunity to make an impact on things that bother every physician, every patient, every day, and help change things so that patients' experiences are better, doctors' lives are in some way better, research and advancement of knowledge goes faster. ASCO is a professional organization. Our members are physicians, and so we believe strongly it should be the doctors who define what quality is. That seems like an obvious statement, but we don't think it should be an insurance company or government, either private or public payers should be saying what is good cancer care, what is good care for medicine in general. We think that is a professional responsibility that we do not wish to cede to anyone else. And the way to do that is to be upfront and define those measures for ourselves.
We basically started from scratch in terms of trying to figure out, okay, what instruments are going to let us do this operation, and every step of the way, is there something that could be done better? So I originally started using the metal shop because it happened to be located between the operating room and the cafeteria at Sutter Maternity and Surgery Center. And there's a number of things here that have been very helpful in redesigning our instruments and modifying instruments. And the guys here have been very helpful about letting me use their equipment, showing me how to use it so I wouldn't hurt myself. And there were a number of prototypes that had to be modified in a variety of ways. And so this instrumentation and these tools were extremely helpful at helping us get things the way we wanted them to be and to work better in the operating room. Surfer's ear is basically a condition where you experience bone growths in the ear canal. And as those bone growths enlarge and narrow the ear canal, people can experience water trapping, infections, hearing loss. And the reason it's been called surfer's ear is because the surfing population seems to have it in a very, very high proportion. And if we wanted to make this happen in somebody, we would just repeatedly dip them in and out of cold water. And the nature of the sport of surfing is that's exactly what that involves. Never heard about it really till I came to Santa Cruz and started seeing the people here with the bone growth that were narrowing their ear canals. And I think probably per capita we have one of the highest rates in the world in this area. And then the techniques I was using to address it initially were those that I was kind of taught in residency and learned from textbooks of ear surgery. And those typically involve using a drill in some fashion. My original motivation was concerned about the noise of the drill, which in some cases has been measured up to 130 decibels. And that's where I thought the chisel technique would be so effective. But what I also found was it was far easier to protect the skin once you knew the technique. And people healed faster and they experienced less post-operative pain. So there were a number of factors that made it really advantageous for the patient. But from a surgeon standpoint, knowing what I know now, it's sort of like if someone took my chisels away and said I had to drill, I wouldn't do the operation. Some of these guys seem to be able to fill up their whole ear canal with bone. The biggest single piece I ever took out was about the size of the tip of my little finger. It was based on the kind of the back wall of this one person's ear canal. I think we're up to about 1,307 ears, and that's roughly 747 patients. And those patients have come from 25 states in the United States, 8 foreign countries. There's no moral ambiguity about this operation. I mean, there's certain things where you can say, okay, we may try to do something for someone. Are we really accomplishing something? Did they get better on their own? Or is our intervention making a difference? In these, it's a very, very tangible thing for me and the patient. We can see what the problem is. We can see the obstruction. You can see why they're having problems. I mean, I'm sort of somewhat of an athlete myself, although I'm not really a surfer, but I know what it's like to kind of be on the sidelines and be sidelined from something you really love to do. So to help these people get back to what they love doing has been very gratifying. A number of years ago, one of my patients was quoted in the local newspaper as calling me the Michelangelo of ear surgery, which I guess I consider a very favorable comparison. Using chisels, but I've not created any tremendous works of art other than some good-looking ear canals.
When we were in the Amazon, one of the traditional things that people do is they make a brew out of Amazonian water, yucca root, and saliva. And they make this big batch of it, and all the women spit into it, and they let it ferment, so it becomes slightly alcoholic. We went to a village, and they were passing the bowl to the newcomers to welcome us, and we had to show that we were friendly to them, so we all drank out of the bowl of the spit concoction, which they served to 6-month-old babies, because at 6 months they've decided they're old enough to drink alcoholic saliva. The reason I started to do medical work abroad is I went on a trip to Thailand, and I felt like I didn't want to just be a tourist. I wanted to give back when I went somewhere because I had medical skills, and they need that in so many places. I've done trips to Guatemala. Our first trip was a rafting trip down the Rio Cajobon, and we took supplies and doctors and people by river raft. I've also done trips to the Amazon, ride a boat down the Amazon River to the next village, which is much safer than driving on 101, I mean to say, and faster. I went to Ghana with the Christian Eye Ministry to do cataract surgery. I've been to India, and I've also worked in Bhutan. Some of the trips I went on in some of the countries I've been to, I did general medicine. I think we all probably feel like we've forgotten everything and can't possibly do general medicine again when we're in specialties, but it's surprising how much comes back after about a day. It's a lot of fun to just get back to your roots of general medicine and to feel like you can make a difference without being super specialty trained. Usually I would see maybe 80 people a day. Because we don't have Epic, we don't have medical records. We keep a little card on everybody, but it's nothing like we do here. We just see patients as quickly as we can. I had already been an ophthalmologist for many years before my first trip to Guatemala. And when I arrived on the trip, I was prepared to do some general medicine, but I was the only woman physician there, and that the women wouldn't allow a man to examine them, so I was going to be the OBGYN. So that was quite an experience. I think a lot of people feel like they can't volunteer for trips because they're not a physician or they're not a nurse, but the reality is, just like our offices here, the majority of the people working are not physicians. We need staff, you need people carrying boxes there, people checking in patients, people walking around. So it's similar in that you just can't have this big group of physicians go. I've had a gentleman come to me who was a radio repairman, and he couldn't see anymore to do his work because he was in his 40s and he was going to lose his livelihood. And I gave him a $1 pair of reading glasses from Walmart, and it changed his life. I mean, I don't have to be a doctor to go hand out reading glasses from Walmart in the Amazon. Anyone can do that. So when my patients tell me, oh, I wish I had the skill you do so I could go volunteer on these trips, I say, no, everybody's needed. Everybody can go and help.
We've had a tradition of serving health education programs and doing wellness initiatives for employers. This is sort of the next step in progression. We have just an amazing growing list of employers. Oracle, Yahoo, VMware, Synopsys, NVIDIA, Brocade, they've all participated in this. One of our goals with this mobile clinic is for you to step into this vehicle and not feel like you're on an RV. We tried to really use high-end appointments and really make it a pretty luxurious feel so employees feel like they're in one of our standing clinics. So if I was an employee, this is the first place I'd stop. This is our patient service representative desk. So this is where the employee sits, and then our driver/PSR does all the patient registration. So this is really the front desk of our clinic. This is one of our exam rooms, and as you're looking at it, it should feel like a standing clinic. We've got nice, luxurious cush chairs right here. They're automatic. We got our vital taking station, and then of course all the usual amenities that you'd expect in a primary care clinic office. Moving down to the second exam room, this is actually the lab center. So we've got our centrifuge and all our lab processing materials here. So our nurse/phlebotomist basically does most of our patient care materials here. So this is our second exam room. You know, it's interesting. We've had patients come in here that go to standing clinics, and when they're in here getting their exam done, they tell me they feel like this is more luxurious than their standing clinic. So it really does a great job of replicating the PAMF clinic experience. The wonderful thing is they can get pretty much anything they want done from a standing primary care clinic. So they can get their physical exam done. If they want to come in for a specific medical complaint like a cold, a flu, back pain, if they want their meds refilled. Our first couple of weeks when I tracked the data, we saw that close to 50% of the employees that came in never connected with the PCP before. So that really proved to us that it's not that these employees don't care about their health, it's just convenience has been a primary barrier. What we found out is a lot of employees really don't know us. A lot of them come up to me and ask me, Palo Alto Medical Foundation, aren't they just located in Palo Alto? And then we show them a map and they're blown away by the fact that they've got a clinic right near them on the East Bay or further up north. So it's been a wonderful way to really educate employees, not just about health, but about what our organization has done and how long we've been in the business of healthcare. What I've learned from my experience in Silicon Valley is these employees are developing conditions at a very early age. I mean, we're seeing heart disease in people's, in their 30s, or prediabetes, or significant chronic diseases. And the fact that we can really connect with a part of the population that previously thought they were invincible is really a tremendous service that we're providing. I recently attended a forum for Silicon Valley business leaders, and we had about 12 or 13 HR leads for all the various big companies in Silicon Valley, and they can traditionally be a tough audience. And at the end of that forum that Larry Shapiro and I presented at, one person stood up and said, "We love your van," and people literally almost applauded in agreement. Everybody's given really positive feedback, so it's really been a home run.
My dad is in Iraq right now and he's having a good time. At his base they have a Wii. They don't have a lot of games, but he asked to send some games. He also plays in a softball league. I think it's good for him because when he comes home, we can do the same thing. At home we play Guitar Hero 3 and baseball. He will be even better at them. I don't know what the food is like, but I bet it's reasonable. Love, Mason. I would say the number one thing was probably the TV show MASH. I wanted to be Hawkeye Pierce more than anything else. But my grandfather served in World War II. He was in the Battle of the Bulge. But I grew up in a pretty late 60s liberal house, and I was actually carried to Vietnam demonstrations in backpacks, anti-war demonstrations. So it's pretty funny telling my parents I was joining the Army. In June of 2008, I got a phone call saying that I needed to go to a soldier preparedness processing thing, which is usually what they send you to before you deploy. And I was like, okay, where am I going? And they're like, well, didn't you get notified? No. Oh, you're going to Iraq. Okay. I could have said no, but I would have gone to jail. I was pretty terrified at the time, to be honest with you. I had an 8-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. I'm a general surgeon in Fremont working for PAFMG. I'm not taking care of these, severely injured IED blasts and things like that. They sent us to Brooke Army Medical Center in Texas. We got to do some trauma training and things like that there. Friday night, they threw us on a flight and we flew to Maine and then to Germany and then landed in Kuwait. We flew from Kuwait to Tikrit. And that was a pretty shocked feeling landing, knowing you're in Iraq now, and it was brown. It was just dust everywhere, no trees, no green, just this huge sprawling army base. The medical facilities were pretty interesting. The ORs were these giant containers that were literally dropped into Iraq that were prepackaged. So we had suction and cautery and anesthesia equipment. When you were in the OR, it was hard to know you really weren't in a real operating room. When we did the trauma course in Texas, we actually had a cadaver lab. So one of the cardiac surgeons who I ended up deploying with was there. And I said to him, the one injury I am terrified of is a subclavian artery or axillary artery injury. I'm never up there. I don't know how to get into that area. It's a very, very tricky area. Can you just show us how to do it? So we basically did a sternotomy, came up off the side and exposed the entire length of it. Well, probably the most heartbreaking thing that happened was we did have a soldier who tried to commit suicide. And it was one of our soldiers from our unit who was working in the ER and actually put his M16 up to his chest and fired. And so the exact injury that I was most in fear of was what happened. And the cardiac surgeon who showed us how to do it was there with us. So it was a pretty amazing coincidence. So we were able to take him to surgery, did a sternotomy, open it up, and actually were able to save him. So that was by far the most extreme case that we did. At the end of the day, the more fear and the bigger the event is, the more you get out of it by successfully completing it. You just have this incredible feeling of accomplishment, that you have done something that very few people in the world have done. There was a feeling of successfully, matching my grandfather and having come through as, a combat veteran. After 30 days, you become officially a veteran. I would absolutely love to do it again. I have commitments to my family right now which sort of preclude that, but I'm kind of biding my time till the kids are in college, and then we'll probably jump at the chance to rejoin and go back in, with the one caveat that I'm a colonel this time.
There's always something. I have to air evacuate somebody out, probably out about 80% of the trips. I've also had people have a heart attack flying from Easter Island to Samoa. I've had multiple traumas with broken legs, arms, be thrown off a horse in Easter Island. There was one time when it was New Year's Eve and we were on the train going to Machu Picchu, and we must have gotten some bad food. I had 30 people vomiting and bending over between the cars trying to give them Phenergan shots, and thank goodness that Zofran orally dissolving tablets came into being. vaccine a few years ago, so now I just give them a little tablet to put under the tongue. But I have to say that was the most people sick at once we've had. So it's never boring. So about 15 years ago, I was a backup for the Stanford private jet program that was organized by TCS StarQuest Expeditions. And they approached me about being on some of their other trips. Instead of being the backup, be one of the real expedition physicians with National Geographic Smithsonian. And it was an extraordinary opportunity, not only to learn about 10 different countries in 3 weeks, but to explore with amazing experts and meet local people. It's a private jet, 757, reconfigured to business class, and there's usually anywhere between 60 to 78 paying passengers. My responsibilities include not only being the physician, but part of our responsibility is to educate about this on the trip as we go along and the various cultures we visit. The lecturing involves probably 2 or 3 lectures on the plane, and then there's at dinner on the bus, and there's all the on the spot. You're basically on 24/7, and my main lecture could be something that is the obvious one, travel tropical wilderness issues related to the places that we're going to. I know that some people are afraid of traveling, but I have to say from the bottom of my heart that travel is opened up so many opportunities, and people get along great. I just love talking to people I'm getting pretty old now, but talking to people older than me to hear about their experiences and what they've done and what they hope for. People to people, I do think that if we get a chance to sit down and we're open to listening and sharing our experiences, we can open up and understand each other. And it has a domino effect when we all get home, that we're more appreciative of the people that we meet at work and the grocery store. So I think travel is empowering for all of us. I think most of us as medical students had this dream about helping other people. And I think one of the ways to re-inspire us all in our love and passion for medicine and for helping others is to get out of our box so that we forget about all the stresses of our usual practice with Epic, about the MRI scanner and the CT scanner, and really get back to basics. I mean, one of the things I've realized from all of my work is you really get back to the old-fashioned medicine, and it can inspire us on how much we have to offer so that it can get us reinvigorated about medicine and why we went into it in the first place.
Overall, I think it's just this sort of feeling like you're able to contribute to the country and to the community that makes it the most special part of it.
As a healthcare organization, we are very customer-centered, and this to me is the ultimate example of customer service. The traditional application of a mobile clinic van is to go to underserved communities to really deliver healthcare, so we'd love to make this a broader part of our community and healthcare objective.
The Santa Clara County Medical Society bestowed the honor on me of winning the County Medical Society Community Service Award. They recognize the community is not just Santa Clara County, it's the whole world is our community. And that as privileged physicians here, we have this ability to serve so many more people and to make this big impact on the world.
I think it can still evolve. What I'm doing can still evolve. I'm still working on things that I'm trying to do better. But it's just, we all need to keep thinking along those lines. You know, how can we do things better? I mean, I think that's kind of the sort of the lean philosophy that's working through our organization. How can you do something better? How can you waste less time, waste less energy, have better outcomes? If we just keep thinking about it and applying ourselves, hopefully we'll keep evolving in that direction.
I was talking to another oncologist, and he quoted something that Brent James had said to him once. It's not sufficient for you to simply sit on the work of others who've gone before you and do the same thing over and over again. But you have a responsibility to the patient to add to that by contributing to the field and advancing care. The reality is that the future is here now, and that the bar should be set higher because it can be set higher, and PAFMG is leading the way.